Good evening. Today is May 13th, 2025. The time is now 5 o'clock. The Montgomery County Board of Education meeting is now being called to order. First up is Pastor James Ingram from Trinity Assembly of God to bring us word and prayer.
Thank you. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, thank you for life. Thank you for the opportunity to serve. Lord, we ask that your anointing will be upon the people of this meeting and upon all future meetings of this board. Father, I ask that seasons of refreshing be upon Dr. Bird and upon this board. May they be refreshed with wisdom. May they be refreshed with the power of collective wisdom. Refresh them with hope for and the reality of their great success. May Dr. Bird and this board be refreshed with divinely inspired vision. May they be refreshed with joy in serving. Lord, we pray that all teachers, administrators, and all personnel of our school system will be anointed, encouraged, and strengthened to achieve their goals. Lord, we ask that homes, families, parents be blessed by your hand for their success. May every student be taught truth. May we prepare them for and help them discover their ordered paths of life. Jesus, you are the Prince of Peace. So we now confidently ask, may peace and safety be upon Montgomery County schools. May your favor and blessing rest upon Dr. Bird and his family, upon these board members and their families. With faith, we proclaim your words, Jesus, from Matthew 19:26. With men it is impossible, but with God all things are possible. We give you all the glory and honor. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Ingram. At this time, if we would all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag A quorum is established. At this time, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Madam President, I move that we approve the agenda.
Is there a second?
I second it.
It has been moved and second. All those in favor do so by a showing of hands. It is unanimous. The next agenda item will be the board president remarks. So at this time, we'd like to welcome Superintendent Zacchaeus Bird. Your leadership marks a new chapter of excellence and dedication to education. We are excited for the vision, the guidance, and inspiration you bring to our schools and our community. May your tenure be filled with success, progress, and meaningful impact for all students and all educators. Thank you, Dr. Bird, and welcome to your first meeting.
Thank you all so much for this opportunity. Thank you.
Congratulations to the class of 2025. I read or heard a report that this is the largest graduating class in American history. So that is history in and of itself. Their hard work and perseverance and dedication have brought them to this momentous achievement. As you all, as seniors who may be listening at home or may hear about it, step into your next chapter of your journey, may you carry the lessons, friendships, memories that have shaped you. The future is so bright, and we know that you will continue to make us proud. And to our long-serving teachers and staff, we extend our deepest gratitude for your unwavering dedication. Your passion, patience, and commitment have shaped generations of students and enriched our schools in countless ways. You have been the heart of our educational community, inspiring learning and growth every single day. Thank you for your invaluable contributions, and we celebrate you today and always. And lastly, on Saturday, I had the opportunity to attend Keep the Beat. It was both inspiring to see our students showcase so much talent and to promote the importance of reducing chronic absenteeism was the message of the day. I think the message, along with the talent and the art, spoke volumes, and I think, Ms. Jones, that it definitely left an imprint in them. So I can surely say they'll be back, and they'll be in those seats, beating everybody to school, hopefully. And those are my remarks. At this time, we will have Ms. Jade Jones to do board recognitions.
Thank you, Madam President. Good evening to you, Madam President. Dr. Byrd, welcome. And to our Montgomery County Board members. We want to officially, Ms. Smith already done, so we want to give Dr. Byrd a round of applause as being our new superintendent. Welcome.
Thank you.
And if we'll keep our hands right here, we want to give a round of applause to our Carr Middle School baseball team and our Floyd Middle School softball team because they are the reigning champions. And their pictures are on the screen.
Wonderful. Congratulations. Congratulations.
And just as Mrs. Smith has shared, it is May, and our students and school staff have done an outstanding job this year, and it is almost over. In fact, we're gearing up, as Ms. Smith said, to celebrate our high school graduations, and I'm excited to share that as of today, we have 1,478 graduates that will walk across the stage. So let's give them a round of applause.
Awesome.
And we're also sending a job well done to our students that were represented at the Dallas competition for the VEX robotics competition, and we want to give them a round of applause. And Ms. Smith, we want to thank you for your kind words. We would like to thank our parents, our schools, our community supporters, our sponsors, all of you as board members, Dr. Byrd, my colleagues on the leadership team, for your support for our Keep the Beat event. Grammy Award students, and Morris Provo played a solo due to his amazing talent that Miss E witnessed during the sound check. We had several student performers, and we can't thank Miss Natalie McKnight enough for securing all of our student performers. It was just so wonderful to see all of that talent on one stage, and I'm so proud of each and every one of those students and the teachers that worked with our students. Also, we want to thank our dedicated volunteers, who were many from the central office staff and also our schools, our logistics department, our wonderful, wonderful, wonderful security team, and of course, our in-house print shop team. And I would like to take a personal privilege here and say thank you to the communication staff for all of their hard work and putting up with my crazy ideas. But most importantly, Madam President, I'm happy to share that we're up 12% in our contact information being updated. That was the goal. And to spread the awareness of student attendance. And if I may share, and not steal Dr. Williamson's thunder, kindergarten enrollment numbers are up for this time of the year. So that is really exciting and great work to student services and all of our colleagues across the district.
Thank you.
Now, Madam President, it is safe to say that we are definitely keeping the beat. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. Thank you.
Our next agenda item is scheduled public comments. Requests must be made in advance in writing to the superintendent's office by 4:30. We don't have any. Okay, public comments? No, okay, well, I can skip that. Thank you. Our next agenda item will be brought to us by Mr. Chad Anderson, Morning View Elementary, HVAC, and windows lighting renovation.
Good evening, Dr. Byrd, members of the board. Before you have the Morning View and Davis certified bid tabulations for those two projects, and we're recommending the low bidder for those two projects. And begin processing that as quick as we can to start this summer. It includes the windows, HVAC, drop ceiling, lighting, and some door access for those projects.
All right, that's for both, correct?
Correct, yes,
All
ma'am.
right, thank you, Mr.
ma'am.
Anderson. Our next, any questions? I'm sorry, any questions? Okay, our next agenda item will be Ms. Pamela Watkins, the March 2025 financial statement. And she will also bring to us the resolution authorization certain preliminary actions for financing for the Percy Julian School project as well.
Good evening, Dr. Byrd, Board President Smith, and our board members. You should have before you the financials for the month of March. Within the financial package, there is an explanation of the financial data, basically our general fund. It provides a statement and an overview of the financial status specific to our general fund, which is our primary operating fund source for the district, and this is a statement of highlights by the CSFO, by me. You also have a snapshot analysis, which is a high-level summary of the district's financial position for the month of March. It highlights key figures such as our local revenues, our payroll expenditures, and our general fund balance as of March of 2025. This also provides an at-a-glance view, overview for the board and the public to quickly assess the financial health of the district. Next, you'll have a general fund recap, which provides a detailed recap of our fund balances that make up the general fund balance of $131 million. I think it's important to see and understand that although our general fund balance is $131 million, not all of it is discretionary, as some of those funds are specific in how they may be used from the State Department. Our true discretionary balance, which you'll see, is $109 million. You also have the monthly percentages, which provides a percentage of where we should be revenue or expenditure-wise. This is the 6th month of the fiscal year, and so with that, our expenditures should be approximately 50%, and you will notice that they are. Additionally, you have a monthly and annual comparative statement of revenues and expenditures. This is a comparative statement that shows our current and our year-to-date revenues and expenditures alongside the month-to-date and year-to-date expenditures at the same period in time in fiscal year 2024. We also have a statement of cash flow, which provides our monthly income and revenues for the month of March. It also shows the months prior to March and provides a total of those revenues and expenditures as well. Additionally, there is a pie chart which provides a visual of those inflows and outflows, and then our F exhibits, which is the information as it's uploaded to the state, provides a financial statement and balance sheet from the State Department. If you focus on Section 2, our snapshot analysis, you'll see that our revenues are at about 62%. You'll also see the comparison of our local revenues for fiscal year 2024 and 2025. The difference in those collections are strictly due to timing. Additionally, you'll see a comparison of our total payroll expenditures and our general fund balance analysis. If you flip over to our general fund recap, as I stated, although our general fund balance is $131 million, many of those revenues are restricted. You'll see that our transportation is almost $7 million of that, as well as various other fund sources that are restricted in how they can be expended. So our discretionary local fund, general fund balance is $109 million. Additionally, I do want to state in the recap, the financial recap by the CSFO, I did mention that, and I've been mentioning also in our monthly recaps out to the board, that I would like to recommend in the month of June that we increase our reserves. In fiscal year 2023, we did start reserves for capital, technology, security, and vehicle. And we added to those reserves last year, so we currently have reserves in our capital, technology, security, and vehicle for a total of $23.1 million, and I would be recommending in June that we increase those reserves. Any questions?
I have one,
Yes, ma'am.
Madam President. It states that for the 2026 fiscal year that we declined, but we only declined by less than 200 students.
Yes, ma'am. We declined by 125 students going into fiscal year 2026.
Did they say the reason? I mean, is it, I mean, it's
Well,
not, I mean,
those numbers are usually based on the 20-day count. And so there's a 20-day average daily attendance, and that's where those numbers come from.
Ms. Brown?
Yes, Mrs. Watkins, I would like to know if we have received all of the expenses around the superintendent search, or are we still receiving expenses?
We have received one final invoice as far as I'm aware that will be processed this week and the payables this week.
Okay, will you be able to share that with the
Yes,
board
ma'am, I
when you
can share
receive
that with
everything, the totals?
I can, yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, Ms. Watkins.
Okay. Next, I have the resolution related to the Percy Julian. I do have our bond attorney here, Kane Burnett. He's going to come up in case you have any additional questions. So as you remember, last month, the board approved the bid for the construction of the new Percy Julian High School, including related capital improvements, equipment, and installation related to that. So this month, as we transition to the next phase of that process, the board will need to select and engage an underwriter for the issuance of the bond warrants. Requests for proposals will be released to engage underwriters for the warrants. So this resolution that's brought before you all tonight will authorize the superintendent, the CSFO, and the district's financial advisors to prepare and distribute the RFP, as well as take steps needed to facilitate the process. Additionally, the board may incur some expenditures necessary related to the Percy Julian project prior to the issuance of those warrants. And so this resolution will also temporarily cover the board's general fund and allow the district to be reimbursed for any related expenditures. Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Our next agenda item is the consent agenda. Dr. Byrd?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, Madam President. Superintendent recommends approval of the graduation policy update. Okay. Superintendent recommends approval of the graduation policy update, the morning HVAC windows lighting renovation project, the Davis HVAC windows lighting renovation project, the March 2025 financial statement, resolution authorizing certain preliminary actions for the finances of Percy Julian High School. Superintendent also recommends approval of the April 8, 2025 regular board meeting, the April 8, 2025 work session, the April 15, 2025 special call meetings minutes, the April 17, 2025 special call meeting minutes, and finally, the April 23, 2025 special call meeting minutes.
Hearing the superintendent's recommendation, is there a motion?
Madam President, I move that we accept the consent agenda as given by the superintendent.
I second it.
It has been motioned and second. All those in favor do so by a showing of hands. It is unanimous. Any discussion? No. Consider for approval, Dr. Byrd.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam President. Superintendent recommends your personnel report, certified personnel for approval.
Is there a motion?
I
Madam
would,
President, I move to accept the superintendent's recommendation for certified personnel.
Is there a second? Is there a second?
I second.
All right, it has been motioned and second. Is there any discussion? Your mic.
Turn your mic.
I'm sorry, I'd like to see Ms. Murray come to the podium, please. I have just a few questions for you. Thank you. We have a lot of supplements on this agenda, on these report. Could you tell me, we've got some for robotics, we've got some for building inventory coordinators. Why are they've been doing this all year, is that correct?
Correct.
So why are we just now seeing them get approved for this? I just want to know the process, please.
It's been the district's standard process for supplements to be paid at the end of the current academic school year.
Okay.
But
Thank you.
I would like to, I looked through these and there just seems to be an awful lot. And correct me if I'm wrong, there were things like, and Ms. Cloud brought up the one that I was concerned about, and it was the building inventory coordinator. There were just several per page. What is logistics for? What is, that's what I'm not understanding is what are these people that are working at the school that are doing a number count and getting that supplement for that? Correct. There are people at the building levels, as you realize, we have several physical locations within the school district. So those are staff within the school who actually perform those duties at the school. Now, I can follow up and provide you specific, tasks that they're performing as it relates to your question about why logistics is not doing that. Well, it just seems like that we're overlapping on certain things, and that, that's, and I just thought that's what we pay logistics for. And that's the information I can follow up with to show comparison as to prove or disprove that there is not an overlap in the work. How many years? Because I've never seen that specific topic, and to see it as many times as I see it on here, it did get my attention. So this is not the first time the district's paying out that supplement. Okay. I will follow up. Will you follow up and find out when we started that, like under what superintendent? That would be interesting. I will. Okay, thank you.
And I have one last question, please. Student government and student council sponsor. I love that idea. I just wish we knew more. I wish we were seeing some evidence of the input. I mean, these people are working hard to get those children to understand student government and student council. Somewhere can we work together to see the outcomes of that at these schools? I would love to know what they're doing. I'd like to see, because that's important. That leads them to good citizenship. So if anyone else, I don't know who's partnering with her, curriculum, just let us see these wonderful activities that they're doing, because a lot of these people are putting time in after the school day, and I'd like them to be noticed for their effort, and also the children. Thank you.
Sure. Those are 2 points of information I'll follow up with. Thank you. You're welcome.
Are there any other questions? All right, hear none. It has been motioned and second. All those in favor do so by a showing of hands. All right, did you count it? One more time, she said, if you raise your hand. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, board members. Superintendent recommends approval of the personnel report, classified personnel.
The superintendent's made a recommendation. Is there a motion?
Madam President, I move that we accept the superintendent's recommendation on classified.
And I second it.
It's been motioned and second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the superintendent's recommendation for personnel report, classified personnel, do so by a showing of hands. Unanimous. All right, our next agenda item.
Thank you, board members. Superintendent recommend to the board the naming of the Booker T. Washington Magnet High School Chapel. Board members, we have two names that are up for consideration. We have Carter Stark Center and Foster Hall Center. So at this time, I will turn it over to Madam President for your motion.
All right, we have two names. We have the Carter Stark Center and the Foster Hall Center. Is there a motion for the names, for one of the names, if somebody would like?
I motion to name it the Carter Starks
Center.
Center.
All right, there's a motion on the
second.
floor. It is motion and second. All those, now, is there any discussion? I'm sorry, is there any discussion? All those in favor of the name that has been proposed, the Carter Stark Center, do so by a show of hands. It is unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you, board members.
At this time, this board meeting is now adjourned. I got to go right now.
Today is May 13th, 2025. The work session portion of our meeting has now begun. Ms. Smith had to step out. Her senior, Ellen Smith, has been nominated for a Jimmy Hitchcock Award. So you are left with me. Should be painless. We have established a quorum. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as printed?
I motion to approve the agenda.
It has been motioned and second to approve the agenda as printed. We will now receive information in the order as printed. For Volker, we will have Ms. Penn today. Oh, I'm sorry. Told you. Hold on, Ms. Penn. We need to vote on the approval of the agenda. May I see a show of hands for all those in favor of approving the agenda? Thank you, ladies. Y'all are wonderful. Now, Ms. Penn, if you would like to join us.
You guys hear me now? Good evening,
Good evening.
board members, Dr. Byrd, welcome.
Thank
Look forward to working with you on
Same
the capital improvement program and the projects that we've started executing on behalf of the district. So, welcome.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
We're going to dive right on into our May update on projects. And so, all right, first up is South Lawn Middle School, the gym addition. That project's currently at 65% complete this month. We have not made a whole lot of progress since last month. Contractually, our completion date still shows July of this year and this summer, and I walked the site this morning and foresee we're going to have to extend that contract completion date. Now, I've got the GC currently requesting a couple of contract time extensions due to weather, a couple of unforeseen conditions, as well as a change in the roof design. He has submitted that. We are taking it under review with the architect as well as Volkert KWZ team, and once we have vetted that information, we'll bring it to the board, hopefully next month. But just wanted to let y'all know, I'm still showing a July completion date, and you'll see with the pictures, it's just not going to happen. The two biggest things, though, that we have been able to capture last month into this month is they have poured the actual topping slab of the entire building, and they've also started back on the roof installation. So we are moving forward with that. A couple of exterior pictures. Reminder of your floor plan. Our interior pictures. This is the connecting corridor from the existing building. And then a view of your weight room on the right. Gym addition. This is your gymnasium, interior of the gymnasium, as well as the lobby and concession area. And then this is just our picture of that actual topping floor slab that's been poured, and crews are finishing it out. Rolling into the Park Crossing High School project, we actually had a really good day out there today. There was an overhead inspection in which it passed, and so that was our one of two inspections in order to get the building turned over to the owner. So we're billing out 97% complete. Our tentative substantial completion inspection they were trying to get that scheduled for May 22nd, but the DCM inspector has actually confirmed that that'll be a June 12th substantial completion inspection, and so we anticipate no issues at that time. Progress, just again, with the overhead ceiling inspection passing, we'll be able to start laying ceiling tile in. We've also got furniture scheduled to be delivered to the site beginning June 16th. Just some interior pictures of how the weight room's finishing out. Views of the corridor and film rooms. Your athletic locker room areas, we've got the lockers actually set, and the concrete floors are stained and sealed. Here's an interior view of the student study area as well as the coach's suite. Our conference room, and then the actual field house front entry. Moving into our next project, which is the phase one of the Percy Julian High School, and it's the relocation of Todd Road. Contractors billing 65% complete. I believe it's actually further along than that. They have all except put the final asphalt covering on the road, as well as stripe it, and they've now started moving into doing the median work. So the biggest progress that we saw from last month, again, was the asphalt being placed and the storm inlets are poured, and then our power poles at the connection of the boulevard and Todd Road, those power poles have been, and fiber have been raised in order to accommodate for emergency responders. Again, here's another picture. One thing I want to notate as well, we've begun with GMC's help the process of vacating and dedicating the streets. The vacation pamphlet, or actually packet, has been submitted to the City of Montgomery's Planning Commission for review and approval on May 22nd. So we will be there in order to support and answer any questions that the Planning Commission may have. Once that's been approved, we will roll over into the dedication process of the new Todd Road. Phase 2, which is the new Percy Julian High School, we've made a lot of headway within the past month. We've had the owner and GC contract fully executed, and the PO has been received, so they're ready to mobilize and start work. Our pre-construction conference is scheduled for May 22nd with the state DCM inspector and the architect, and once that is held, we'll actually begin seeing earthwork out there starting. One thing I threw up there just to get on everyone's kind of calendar for near future events is a groundbreaking ceremony. If that's something that MPS would like to try to coordinate, it'd be a good time during the summer to do that. And maybe once students come back in the fall, we might be able to do something out there at the job site. But just to put it out there for you guys, if it's something that y'all would like to do, we can start planning for it. Our overall MPS, MBE, DBE participation, this has actually been updated to accurately reflect projects that have either been completed and are currently in construction, and for POs that have been executed. So we're at 45% participation for our professional service contracts and right at 4% with the construction contracts. Any questions or comments?
Hearing no questions or comments, thank you, Ms. Penn.
Yes, ma'am.
We will move to facilities update with Mr. Anderson.
Good evening, Dr. Byrd, Ms. Portis, members of the board. If you'll take your spreadsheet with me for the capital projects, we've already gone through the Volker projects, skipping down to the capital grant and ATF Morningview and Davis. Those were just voted and approved, and we'll begin those as quickly as possible. I'll be giving you updates as far as when the pre-construction meeting will be scheduled with the state and when we can kick those off. We definitely want to kick those off this summer and begin some of the larger areas such as the cafeteria and the office areas that really can't be disrupted during the school year. So we want to get those larger areas done first, and then we'll be phasing off the classrooms as we go along to get the classrooms done. The drop ceiling and lighting may be pushed to a next summer project with that. The most important thing will be to get the HVAC and the windows in to start with, and then come back in with the drop ceiling towards the end with the lighting. The park crossing turf and track replacement, that's well underway. It was out there today for above ceiling in the field house, and those are going along very well. They've started the track surfacing at this point. They were in the bottom curve, and then next week they'll be on top of each other with the track and the turf going in at the same time. And then the Carver High School turf and track replacement, we have the pre-construction meeting scheduled for next week on the 21st that we'll start that and begin that project as well.
Any questions or comments?
Excuse me, Madam Vice Chair. Mr. Anderson, it's not on this month's report.
Yes, ma'am.
But recently I've read where the state superintendent has begun conversation about the high cost of our buses in the future because of tariffs. I'd like to know, I know it's going to affect the electrification, and you know the
Yes, ma'am.
soapbox I'm about to get on, but
Yes, ma'am.
can you give us an update, and it doesn't have to be today, but please let us know where we are with what happened with the previous,
Manufacturer.
yes, thank you, that company. Where are we? Are we putting off electrification? We've gotten grant money to get started with that process. And if prices are about to increase, we have money sitting here, and it's not going to do nearly as much as it would have done
Yes, ma'am.
if we aren't moving forward. So, let us know where we are.
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Thornton is working with the state because of the grant, and the way it was awarded was to that manufacturer that is now out of business. So trying to swap it to our local vendor, International, is what we're trying to do. But we're also in the transportation renovation project that we're doing. We're also going to add the power and infrastructure in there for charging stations and stub those up so that when we get those pieces in place, we're just plugging and playing from there, not having to dig up the ground or cut the concrete or add electrical. We're going to make sure we have that infrastructure in place that we can just continue on as we get the technology in. And then fortunately, we're in a really good spot with our fleet. Our oldest buses in the fleet are 2018s. So we still have several years. They usually on a 10-year cycle. So we're in really good shape with that, with as far as our fleet. So we're not in a hurry on things, but I think it's something that we definitely work forward to getting those electric buses on there for our pilot program of it. And then as the technology, it just improves each and every year. As that comes online, I think we can continue to make progress on it.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Any more questions or comments? Thank you, Mr.
Yes,
Anderson.
ma'am.
We'll move now to our 2025-26 GPR updates. Ms. Hatch.
Welcome, Dr. Byrd.
Thank you.
I am here to provide an update for the GPR that's been proposed in draft form for next school year. According to our MPS policy, we have to have a procedure in place for grading, and we have to update that regularly as needed. So the overall purpose of the GPR handbook is to establish a systemic standard procedures for all teachers throughout the district so that we can support our student learning and evidence as evidenced by their demonstration of knowledge. The update is a collaborative effort, and we have a committee that works to do that. The committee is made up of approximately 35 people. It is made up of central office staff members from all areas of the central office: academics, special education, student support, technology, professional development, ed tech. We incorporate all of the central office staff. We invite principals to be a part of the committee, and so we have committees from all the elementary, middle, and high school, both in traditional and in magnet programs. And then we also invite teachers in all of those same areas to be a part of the committee. The procedure for how the committee works every year is the principals are asked to, they always review it at the beginning of the year, and they continually revisit it with their faculty throughout the year. But they were asked in February to specifically review it for any requested updates or changes. And then those principals then bring those to the committee, and the committee discusses it. So the committee met in March in person, and then we discussed all of the requested changes from not only the principals, but this year we also had all of our other departments had specific requests for changes. So we discuss those, we come up with a good wording, and then I recap all of their input, and I put it in a Google form,
and then they vote on it, and then one of the selections is yes, no, or I want more wording. And then they email, and we work on the wording, and we massage that wording, and we get it just right. I resend it out again. They vote on the new changes that didn't get a yes. We discuss those electronically, and then this year we voted on it another time, just to make sure that everything was as the committee wished for it to be. So with that quick overview, I'm just going to go ahead and go through the proposed changes. Instead of going through the whole handbook, we're just going to go through what we propose to change for next year. So this first one was on the existing page 5, number 2, letter B. And the only difference in this statement is we added the words elementary and secondary because it's stating that the assignments have to be on grade level. But in secondary, it was brought up by the secondary principals and teachers that their standards aren't necessarily on grade level, it's more course level. Because a course, a science course or a math course doesn't necessarily have to be taken by all 10th graders or 11th graders. So they wanted that language to be clarified. The next is on page 6, letter C. And this statement was originally added during the COVID time, and it had to do with just online assignments. And it was the expectations that teachers would have the online assignments due during the school day, because we found that some teachers were saying, hey, turn it in at midnight, so we limited that to just during the school day. And so we wanted to keep that in because we have taken up that digital learning as a part of our everyday curriculum and instruction, but we wanted to expand it. The committee wanted to make it fit a little bit better, not just for COVID and online learning. So that was why that language was changed a little bit, and we added the bottom of it that this, of course, excludes your evening academy because that's naturally going to be outside of the school day. The next one is page 6, letter D. The committee wanted to reword this to be even more in line with our MTSS process, and it was requested that we put a quantifying score to define what mastery is and what mastery is not. So non-mastery is a 59 and below, and mastery is a 60 and above. So we didn't want to assume that people knew that mastery was a passing grade. We quantified that in the language. And then we stated that it's the major grades that will be reassessed and not to ask the teachers to do all daily checks. It's the major grades that they would reteach, reassess. All right, the next is page 6, letter E. And this, really all we did on this is the team wanted to remove some redundant language. And, I went too far. I did 2 clicks. Oh, it's going crazy on me. But we just removed a little bit of redundant language on it. And it's still getting stuck in that same spot. There we go. Maybe it'll stay. So instead of rather than one source as a test, things like that, because when you tell what the major grades have to be made up of, it infers that it has to be more than one source. All right, next, page 6, letter F. Here we go, a new statement. So we added this language in. It has been in the GPR in the past, and the committee members asked for it to be returned to the GPR. And that is guidance that if more, because that's part of they have to have a minimum of 3 major and 6 minor. That's just a minimum number, and they wanted guidance back in for if a teacher wants to go do more than the minimum. They're always been allowed to do more than the minimum number, but this just gives them a guide of that ratio still must be met. All right, page 7, letter K. The only part, if you look, the third sentence, upon returning to school, the students will have 3 school days or a number of days equivalent to total number of consecutive absences, whichever is greater. That language was added back in. It was taken out last year. If you remember, we made the change of allowing the students to have up to 10 days to turn in their late work. You'll see in the next slide that that was adjusted a little bit. And because of that adjustment, we put this language back in to put the 3 days or the number of days absent. Next, page 7, letter I. Previously, it had a 10-day, so this is referring to late work. Teachers can always receive late work and not count off. That's up to the teachers, that's whatever the teacher prefers. But we did have a limit on how much they could count off every day. Last year, we extended that to 10 days. The teachers, many administrators made the request that nobody requested to do away with it, but they all requested to reduce it from 10 days to a 3-day grace period. And then after 3 days, if they choose to, they can start counting off points after that. They don't have to, but if they choose to count off points, they have to wait 3 days instead of 10 this next year. Next, page 11, middle school. Previously, the 8th graders, to prepare them for high school, they had to pass all 4 cores, but 6th and 7th graders had to pass math and English and either science or social studies to move to the next level. The committee really felt pretty adamant that especially science, it's an accountability area, and history does not, they didn't want history to be discounted either. So the committee requests that all 4 cores be passed in order to be promoted to the next level. And we removed the language about any student not passing English or math will be required to attend summer school, because we can't require summer school. So that statement was removed. We can require that they don't pass if they don't attend summer school, but we can't require summer school. Okay, page 12, letter A. This is a new statement, and this statement establishes a timeline for accurate grading procedures. When a student transfers and brings grades in, there was no time limit, and so the grades are we're finding that they're not being put in a timely manner. So we put this in so that we can give a guideline and an expectation for when those grades go in, so that we don't have to go back and open previous grading periods, and our report cards when they go out are correct, and that's the goal. All right, page 14, number 4, this is the same idea. When a student transfers into one of our schools, there is an expectation that within 10 calendar days, all of their previous grades from their previous school gets added into PowerSchool, and it's a part of their historical data. We can't make good decisions and reflect on a student's performance without looking at their past performance. There may be something that happened in their life, and now they were A students, and now they're dropping. If we have a good picture of their historical, their record, then we can really make better informed choices. And it's just good record keeping. Next, this is part of what has to be in the cumulative record, and what has to be presented when the students enroll, and so the Social Security card is no longer required, and so we removed that from the list. Page 22, number 15, the only thing that was added was the words "to include adding and dropping a course." We only added that just to be more specific about changing a course change, and the counselors asked for us to put that specific language in there. And this was a statement, page 22, number 15. This is a statement referring to students who transfer into Montgomery from block scheduling. Because if they come in from block scheduling, they've already had and completed their courses in the first semester, and they're coming in third quarter. We can't put them in an English class that they might need because they've missed an entire semester. We can't put them in quarter 3 and let them do quarter 4, and they would have wasted a semester because they don't have first semester. So we just provided some guidance. The committee wanted to put this in so that we can give some guidance on how to correctly schedule these students that come in from block scheduling. Page 22, number 17 is next, and that's another new statement. And I'm happy to say this is to support our IB programs, that we needed to have that in, and it supports the importance of these culminating projects that these students are required to do. So we put a statement in at the request of our IB schools. So we have McMillan and Carr and Park Crossing. And we hope to share some more information about that soon. About Park Crossing. Page 36, number 1, again, we happily added the IB diploma into that language. Page 36, number 1, all of the language that we removed, there was a whole paragraph after this, but we removed this language because it's redundant. It's already in the dual enrollment handbook. So just like last year when we cleaned up the ESL section and just referred to the handbook, we did that for the dual enrollment. And so everything is just now referred to the dual enrollment handbook instead of restating it again in the GPR. All right, page 37, number 2, letter A. This one was, I didn't realize that we needed this in here. The senior exemptions, it said that the seniors, if they meet all of those criteria, they may be exempt. The high school principals asked us to change that to they are exempt because there were teachers that, even though they met the criteria to be exempt, didn't exempt them. So this is just saying that you will be exempt if you meet those criteria. I know, that was the same look I got. I didn't realize that. So the next is page 38, number 2, letter A. This is for junior exemptions as well. We just added is instead of may, maybe. And then page 38, letter D. We added in the last sentence about semester exam exemptions must qualify under the guidelines outlined in letter A. There was just some uncertainty because if students who are maybe in 10th grade taking an AP course, they can be exempt if they take the AP exam and they meet these requirements. But there wasn't any real good guidance. That's the final exam. There wasn't good guidance regarding the semester exam. So we added that in at the request of the high schools. The next, I didn't have a way to put all the pictures in, but all of the new requirements for graduation, we removed the old ones that are no longer relevant and put the new state requirements in for graduation. I think that's the fastest I've ever gone through this GPR. What questions do you have?
Madam Vice President,
Yes, ma'am.
I had, you answered some along the way, but didn't answer some. Number 1, I wanted to say 7K. I was glad you put that back in there with the 3 days and then the number of days that they were absent. So I'm pleased at that. 7I, you answered for me because I was gonna, say what if they didn't want to do late fees or whatever. So you answered that. I don't have any problems with that. But 2 more. One, just clarification. It's not like that, like I'm saying anything's wrong, but it goes back at the very beginning on page 5. Let me find that. It was 5. Hold on a minute. Hold on, maybe. Okay, it's 5. Yeah, where your updated language, all grades assigned must be on grade level elementary, and you just added the elementary, secondary, which is what you said. But here's my issue. It says assignments completed by students below grade level cannot be used as part of the grade. Okay, we all know, I'm just picturing myself. When you're dealing with 10th, 11th, and 12th graders, they don't know, just say, for instance, they don't know their 8 parts of speech. So that is actually not a standard for them to learn. So technically, if you go and say, well, that's not a standard, but yet if they don't know those 8 parts of speech and you've just had, know your 26 helping verbs, then to me, you're telling me that, hey, that kid doesn't have to know his helping verbs. That is and it is so key that kids know your 8 parts of speech. There are certain basics that students have to know, just like in math. And if it's not written in a standard the way I'm reading that, as a person outside the wall here, that could be confusing to me. I just wanted to
Yes.
make that comment.
Yes, and
Okay.
it is, when you teach a standard, you have to assess where the students are. That's part of their informal evaluations.
Right.
And the teachers, part of their remediation, they spiral down and go back to what they don't learn, and they teach and bring them back up. But that's
Can
not
they
for a
grade?
grade, that's a part of the teaching process.
I would have a problem with that because, that's so you obviously do too, because they've learned it. If they don't know, example, they've got to know their prepositions. And I teach mnemonically. So it is required with me. Now, thank God I'm probably retiring tomorrow, although my schools asked me not to, and my kids have asked me not to. It is so important for them to understand that, Christy. And I don't understand why you couldn't count it as a grade, because to me, it's mandatory. Think about it. And I'm going to tell you why when people go, why do I need to know a verb? Well, you need to know how to write a sentence. And you can't have a sentence without a subject-verb agreement. You see what I'm saying?
Yes,
So
I agree. And
I just think that needs to be looked at. But
Yes.
I'll
I think what's going to be covered next with MTSS will kind of bring a lot of that in. Yeah.
Okay. The other one, it wasn't a question until you went over it, and I jotted it down, so I may have even forgotten it, but it's 22, number 15. So let me look at that real quick. What was that? Oh, yeah. Okay, here's the deal. I'm looking at, I do remember what you brought up. Okay, because it's looking at it's like real specific. Like if you are on the, what, okay. Let me look. The four, like you're taking a core 4, the block schedule. It's called the block schedule, okay? And you're coming from another system on the block schedule. And you come over to us second week of January, third week of January, okay? So they are still getting the rest of January, all of February, all of March, all of April. Are we going to be so close-minded that we're going to go, oh, you've missed the first window of 2 weeks or 3 weeks? Do you not think that there should be something in there? I get it saying, hey, you've missed this much, but let's just say, some people do things different from other state to state, and we're a week or 2 off. What if they miss that window is what I'm saying. Are y'all following me on that? I just thought that was a question that are we going to be so strict that we put them take them out of an English class that they really need, think about it, keep them from graduation because they have to have that English core course because they came to our state or our system 2 or 3 weeks late, yet met the majority of what we needed.
Yes, but if a student, this only applies to year-long courses. If a student comes in the second week in January, they've essentially missed 20 to 21
I was looking
weeks.
at it from a semester. My
Yes,
question
yes.
was from a semester block
Yes,
schedule.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
I would like to go back to page 5, number 2, letter B, about assignments completed below grade level cannot be used as part of grade. What are you going to do with 504 SPED and EL?
So that would be a part of their individual education program.
Yeah, but this is
Not-
the grading, and I think there should be a connotation that with the exception of,
we can definitely put
because
that in.
people are going to be reading this, it's going to be posted on our website, and I want to make it very clear, I want to be transparent, with the
Yeah.
exception of 504 SPED and EL.
Definitely can put that in.
I just have one comment, and that same number. That concerns me, the language of it, because if I'm teaching math, and this baby doesn't know multiplication facts, and I'm thinking now, I'm a emergency cert teacher, I need some rewards too. So if I'm going to get them to algebra, this says that I can't count the building blocks. I'm concerned about that. I'm concerned because it, number one, not as is capitalized. So if I'm not a seasoned teacher, I'm not gonna count any of that until they get to the core. And, let's look
Yes.
at that again.
Well,
if we
according to the
can.
state, we have to teach the standards and our grades have to be
Sure.
tied to standards.
Sure.
And so if that grade is not on a standard, if that assignment is not on a standard, it can't be officially graded.
But think about it, you have the kids in that, that's what it's almost, I mean, if I'm hearing you right, we're gonna go ahead and put students that shouldn't be in there anyway, okay? And you're saying, okay, we're gonna put you in with this high class, even though you shouldn't be in here, and you're not meeting the standards, and we're giving, it's not, do you see what I'm saying? There's something wrong with what she's saying, I mean, with this specific, I think this one.
Just the wording of it.
The wording needs to be, I mean, I just think you're negating things that so many, think about it. We've got 400 emergency certified teachers, okay? Unless they know to go back, if they're cracking a book, they're not gonna crack the 8 parts of speech.
Right, but the Alabama we are bound by the Alabama course of study, and it requires that we teach grade level standards. I understand that we have to spiral down, and I understand what you are saying, that it is required to teach the precursor, and that's part of the teaching process,
But you're
but
saying
not
we
the
can't
grading
grade.
process.
Yeah, but that is what both of us are saying. You're saying you can't grade that. And that, I'll just go ahead and say it's ridiculous.
Well, Dr. Keith, can we do this then? Since this is by committee, and there are 35 of you all, can you take back the board's concerns with these numbers and ask them, there has to be a teacher in that 35 or somebody
Yes.
that either understands or sees the concern in the wording of it?
Yes, what we can do is, we would really need to be consulting with the State Department and not with the teachers. That's
Yeah.
and so we can definitely take that and review it and consult with our State Department.
But let me give you an
And who
example.
is that at the State Department? Who is that at the State Department?
Who's
Well,
saying
it's,
that?
it's going to be Andy Meadows,
Yeah, but
and Sean Stevens.
But we all know they can deviate, okay? Well, especially when you're not trying to leave any child behind. I know we're past that, but you've got to look at it from what we're trying to get across to these kids.
Yes, yes.
Here, I'm not trying to redesign, the world, but I'm giving you an example. With my kids, and don't keep going, my kids, but yeah, you're going to have your class know your 8 parts of speech. They're going to know your verbs. So they make it 100. All right? What I do is, hey, once you made 100 on that, you're exempt from taking it again. And they feel like big stuff. Even seniors are like, oh, I'm exempt. It's almost like they want to put a poster up there that goes, I'm exempt. And they work toward being exempt. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
And just because you have that one slot, think about it. If you have that one slot, every kid doesn't have, you can still put in 100 because that kid made 100 because they're exempt from it. There are ways to rub this, to massage this.
Yes,
And
I
get there.
understand,
Okay.
and we will definitely review it and see if what constraints we're bound by the State Department, and we'll see what we can do.
I think when we lean into this, that's where the MTSS, schools PLP helps them get immediately to where they need to be instead of waiting and causing a problem at the most fundamental level.
Yes.
I just have one more on page 7, letter I, where the teacher determines the points taken off for late work. When is that determined? Is that written in a teacher's plan at the beginning of the year, or they're gonna assess? I mean, because what do? We have a teacher that took off 3 points at the beginning of the year, but say, y'all know better, so I'm taking off 10 at the end of the year. Is it written somewhere? If you can just ask that.
I can't speak for elementary. I know in secondary, it's all the teachers are expected to put out a syllabus. I believe
Right.
in elementary there, they also have to put out their class expectations
Do
and
they?
grading guidelines, yes.
Okay.
So that it's established at the beginning of the year with the parents and the students.
Is this something that we go over? I know you may not know this. We've got Title I schools. They're required to have Title I school parent meetings. This needs to be written up, given to the parents signed that they received it. Everybody's on the same page.
Yes.
We don't have anything hidden that it becomes a hiccup later on. I want all of them to know at the beginning of the
Everything
school
up
year.
front.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. If there are no more questions and concerns, thank you, Ms. Hatch.
You're welcome.
Dr. King, you're up. MTSS and data analysis.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Byrd and board members. I'm going to do my best impression of my team who could not make it tonight. And then also, I just want to preface, we postponed this about 2 times, so some of the data was during that time period. But anyway, I would like to just go over the MTSS data analysis and then take some, questions afterwards or as we go through. So the office, again, thank you for this opportunity. Okay, so the MTSS K-12 instructional support is tiered. It's in 3 tiers. Tier 1 is the core instruction, and that's whereby the teacher is delivering the instructions, and our goal is to implement high-quality instruction for all students, ensuring differentiation, and the goal is for them to receive standards-based instruction. Tier 2 is the targeted intervention. I think you all mentioned some of that today as you were discussing, but if we do use data, in some cases universal screening, classroom performance, to identify students who need additional support. And then Tier 3 is a little more intensive instruction. We provide individualized research-based interventions as well as with frequent progress monitoring. So the MTSS at the elementary level looks similar to what you see here. And I won't necessarily read it all, but it's there. The purpose is to assess academic progress and intervention effectiveness using the same group of students. And when we get to the next slide, but the district expectations is very clear, and this applies to all of our students, including our magnet school students. And so I just want to stress that. And also, our team, both at the elementary and secondary, both at the secondary level, our teachers are actually trained on universal screeners and core instructions to all students. We also, again, as we said in the mention, we provide targeted interventions. And then we do have support with our student support team on the Tier 3, our SST teams, and also PBIS, and having those conversations. And the goal is, in some cases, it may not be instructional. It could be social. It could be some behavior issues that may impact the student's ability to learn. And so the goal is to provide wraparound services and to have those discussions with experts in different areas so that we can provide some strategies to the classroom teachers. And especially, as Dr. Keith mentioned, some of our emergency certified teachers may not have those tools or in their toolbox, so therefore that support could be provided by that student support team. And this was an example of a 6-week intervention plan. I don't think I could actually open that up, but the example of a 6-week intervention plan, it really has the teacher, it has the standard that the students is not being successful at, it has school-wide interventions and practices. That's not a live link, but I could share it with you. Then it has both our state tiered instructional support services that we're supposed to use. That could be our Ready in one cases, and then Do the Math for our second, and then Spire for our third. Then we also even use our textbook adopted curriculum, such as open court resources. But the goal is the more we expose students to standards, the more successful they are going to achieve standards-based instruction. The other key thing when you're thinking about MTSS, the more you take students away from core instructions, the further they get behind. So you almost got to do both the spiral, but you also got to do the actual progression towards standards, because standards-based instruction is how the students are going to demonstrate mastery. So if you're not exposing them in these MTS or interventions, they're going to get further behind. So it is a both and, not an either or. You have to spiral where they have weakness and they don't show, but then you also got to make sure the students are still exposed to core instructions. And that is because as their peers are moving in core tier 1, they could get further behind. And so that's the whole goal, is to make sure that we are focused on standards-based instruction. The MTSS secondary is similar. Again, here we're track. Didn't do that. Okay. Oh, okay. Somebody else is moving. Could you move to the second one? The next one, I'm sorry. So the MTSS here, similar process to the elementary, but a little more just appropriate for middle school and high school. So we must track academic behavior and attendance data to identify struggling students early. Some cases, attendance does directly impact students' attainment of mastery of standards, and so that's real critical. You do tend to see a more behavioral type issues in middle school due to peer and due to that teenage years. So you're going to have some of those that impact the student's ability to learn. And so here we also want to implement early warning signs to flag students at risk of failing a course or dropping out. And we could do that with our periodic assessments. Our teachers do use progress learning assessments. We'll see some of that data a little later. And progress learning really is designed to ensure that students are mastering standards. And so each school at the secondary has an MTS team composed of teachers, counselors, and administrators. They have monthly MTSS meetings to ensure timely adjustments to intervention plans. And schools do, based on the schools, offer a variety of options, such as academic labs built into the school day, peer tutoring or mentoring programs, behavior intervention groups. And then social emotional learning, again, with our colleagues working very closely with our student support services team. They provide SEL embedded into advisory period or counseling sessions by our counselors. Students, similar to the MTSS meeting, they do hold student success meetings with families to create individualized support plan. And that family component is as critical in middle as it is high school, because in high school, students don't want their parents there a lot, but that is a positive way to have parents still involved. Then regular check-ins to receive academic and emotional support that they need, because you never know what students are dealing with socially and emotionally outside of school, and that does have a direct impact. So part of this is to make sure that we're separating the student behavior from what they can achieve academically. We address the behavior, and then we can address the academics at the same time. So that's the thought behind that. Okay, in the high school intervention plan, again, these links are not live, but we can share it with Dr. Bird. Some of them are very extensive because in the high school intervention plans, what we're looking at there is grade, credit, and course recovery, because in high school, given that they're on credits, we want to make sure that they're on track. So one of the things, one of the tools that we have in our Power School repertoire is to look at what's called a graduation progress report. And so that'll tell you in live time what students have already received credit for, and then how many more credits they need in each grade. We also can pull their grades, we can pull their attendance with our team. We could check all of that. And so from an IT perspective, we have a lot of information where we can see where a student is, and then potentially try to develop a plan to kind of help those students. And so these intervention plans also are sort of teacher-driven, but it is in support of the MTSS team at that particular school. So the data review, and again, the data review is a little older, but it's just to give you an idea. And then, so here, and I'm sorry you can't see much of it, it's small, but just to describe what you have, what we wanted to do, we wanted to assess the academic progress and intervention effectiveness, and I think Vice President Portis asked this question, and so this may address that. So we used the same students in the group when we did this to see, okay, to compare apples to apples. And so the analysis included a comparison, comparing grades Q1, and again, I know we are down at Q4, but just want to acknowledge that at the original posting with updated Q1 grades as of March 2nd, 2025, after Q2 and following MTSS support efforts. So when you look at this, student groups with at least one F in Q1 was identified and tracked. And so this consistent group, again, allowed us to say, okay, same students, then we can see they receive the intervention, then how well did they do after the intervention. And so in this initial, we had 1,067 elementary students in grades 1 through 5 with at least one F in math or ELA. And the timing of the second grade poll was on March 2nd, 2025. It was intentional, allowing time for the MTSS interventions to kind of take place and other support strategies implemented in Q2 to potentially influence student performance. And so the data from Q2 shows an overall improvement from Q1 of 26%. And that's about 278 students. Now that is relatively, doesn't show like a large percentage. It's almost a little over a quarter in terms of that improvement. So a number of things we could kind of ascertain. Number one, whether or not MTSS was provided. That's one. Number two, whether or not the services or the MTSS that was implemented was effective, right? And then number three could be other social issues or things that may have emotionally impacted that child that we were not aware of. And so what that tells us is that we have to still look at all of our MTSS process, and then we have to do better tracking of that. So this is, but again, I think in terms of being able to track and at expectations of us looking at this and with the team actually pulling that data, it's a good way to say, hey, how we're doing. But I could tell you now, this is not according to our expectations, and it's not according to what is expected of us as a team and as a unit. So these are things we will be working on. And so secondary, you'll see that similarly, a little, maybe a little more success here comparatively when you look at the schools. Again, if you look at, we took again the number of students with F in quarter 1. We looked at the number of F in quarter 2, and then we looked at the growth in those areas. And so you'll see in some cases, and I'm sorry, in some cases we did have a particular school over 58%. And if really, when you look at comparison, we need about 75% to 100. So I don't want you to think that even though we saw some growth there, our goal or height should be at 75 or 100%. And so, but here we do see some examples where some teachers or some schools have been very effective at MTSS, and then there's also indicates that some other schools may need some support in terms of their MTSS, and then whether or not the teachers have the tool kit to meet those students where they are in order to move them. And this also for these were students that were non-proficient in this group. And so in the non-proficient students, quarter 1, quarter 2, and quarter 3, we looked at 2,640 secondary students with at least 1 F in a core subject area as of December 9th, 2024. And so, in looking at that data, we can see in some cases, the number increased, and that could be some possible contributing factors. Number 1, students adjusting to grade level expectations in terms of standards and or the teacher teaching style. Gaps in foundational skills from previous years, especially in some of those subject areas that relies on building of skills to skills, especially like math in those cases. And then in quarter 2, you had 2,910 secondary students with at least 1 F in the subject areas as of January 22nd, 2025. The trend compared to quarter 1, there was an increase, which we don't really want. We want to show a decrease, actually. And so this is possibly a number of things to kind of possible reason for this. We haven't really been looked to kind of pinpoint it exactly, but mid-year assessments happen around that time, and grading may reflect sustained struggles. And then also, it also may depend on what resource or what classroom materials the teacher is using. So we really want our teachers using our adopted materials. We want them to also utilize whatever supplemental services we have approved by the district, so that we can really know that what we're using is that whether or not it's being effective. And so interventions also may have not been implemented effectively during that time. So these are some of the contributing factors could show that increase. And then we saw it in quarter 3 as well. So we increased again by about a 1.44% increase on that. Secondary students with, again, 1 F, and this was as of March 28, 2025. And so here we can see the effects or a lack of academic support tutoring, and or MTSS. And it really depends on what resource was used to address that in each school. The goal there is when we look at where the needs are, we can make some conclusions that more schools may need more support or they may need more academic rigor or some more instructional coaching. So it really depends. And so, so the goal in all of this, honestly, was to, uh, get an idea to identify the failing students. And I think that was something that the board had really wanted in terms of our team really producing those reports because of the concerns about our students failing, and then again, how are we supporting them using MTSS? And the other goal is to, once we identify where they are struggling, then the trajectory should be towards standards, and then we want better grades, and then we want students to graduate on time. So that's the goal there. And so the next data that we have is grade recovery. So we use in this particular for this year we do use schools PLP, and what you see is that we had about 1,897 students enrolled in schools PLP as of February 28, 2025. The breakdown is below, so we can there's 1,585 students enrolled in virtual instruction, which means the number of students in a teacher, online certified teacher. And that normally is in support of our teaching vacancy. So where you see virtual students enroll, that's what that is. There is not a teacher physically in the class, so we use Schools PLP to provide that virtual certified teacher. So 675 students are passing, overall passing, and then there are 910 students which are failing, and 57.4% failing as of February 28th. And it could be because of the number of assignments that need to be completed. They do assess they are aligned to our Alabama course of study, so the work has to be completed, and so that could be attributed to that. Then in grade recovery, we have 308 students enrolled in grade recovery. 116 students are currently, not currently, they were passing at this time when we had this. And then 62.3%, which was 192, were failing as of February 28th. And again, it's really about completion in schools PLP. They have to complete the work, and we don't move them on unless they complete the work. And so that could be attributed to that, as well as students who may not be online learners, may need that direct teacher touch. I mean, those are a number of factors that will impact that. And then we have 4 students enrolled in credit recovery. You have 1 student passing, and then you have 3 students failing. And so this, again, could be available based on the completion of the assignment. We're not, one of the changes, we're not moving students on if they don't complete the work. And that's our expectations using this online platform. But in all cases, we have provided more time because of the adjustments. Schools PLP is different than what some of the students were accustomed to in the content. Even though it may be similar, it is standards aligned, and so it's going to be a little higher expectation for that. Then progress learning is one of the tools we use for standard-based assessments, and it's used. It's used daily. It's used quarterly. We use it sometimes for when students enroll into our school and we don't have any indicator or grades for that student. We give them progress learning because this is the only online platform that's standard-based in terms of assessment perspective. So our teachers utilize this, but you can see across K-8, and these are mastery standards that we assess in all 4 subject areas. And also in secondary, we also use it in secondary as well, and you can see the number of usage there. And again, this is a point in time. It's not the whole year. And then if you look at 12th grade, you'll see missing math, and that's because we use ALEX as an assessment tool to kind of gauge that interest there. I mean, try to gauge how well the students are doing. The instructional supports, again, what we've done, we utilize Title I for extended day, and that's for 21 days. It's an after-school program to address math and reading deficit. The ARI also is a state-funded program, K-3 literacy before and after school. That's 21 days for teaching units. And then we have supporting struggling readers grant for 4th and 5th grade. And it's intervention program before and after school tutoring, summer reading camps to address ongoing literacy needs. And then, next steps. So the next step for our team, we still continue to look at bi-weekly grade books audits by standards, teachers, and schools. This process allows the district to monitor and make informed decisions about classroom instruction. And again, that's important because in order for us to, we have to diagnose, but then we have to also provide the support in order to make sure it's very impactful on student achievement. And so we also collaborated and calibrated a systemic system for instructional walkthrough form to collect for instructional decisions. So when we go in and look at teacher practice, we gain that information, and then we use that information, and then we decide on how we're going to support teachers. And then we have created a grade level performance process that clearly communicates expectations of teachers, provide formal interventions on all assignments, and we are continuous and on track for that. And then targeted professional development, which again, I think Dr. Keith and others alluded to, when you have the emergency teachers, it's what do they need in order to teach to the standards, because it's more art and the science of teaching, but you also have to have the content knowledge for that. So we do have teacher professional development that will be planned for the instructional walkthroughs. And then principals with 9% or more failure must create an action plan to address school failures. And the plans needs to be revisited every 9 weeks. And we also have a mid-year review that we've used, especially with some of our CSI schools, but it also can apply to all principals, where we have them look at the data and then they make adjustments based on the strategies that we have employed and are used with CSI funds. And then finally, we have summer school planned, and one of the things that we updated based on Dr. Bird's 100-day plan was to put some acceleration in there, and then also make sure that the student has access to STEM, because and then our dual enrollment is also in here, but we have dual enrollment for those students to get ahead for our high school students too. So we have curriculum documents for 2025, 26, and then we already completed those. And so, and then we are really working with Jamie and our executive team on the curriculum plan aligned to the strategic plan and our board policies, which is specific to 7.0, and then board policy 5.0 that speaks specifically to professional development. So a lot of things we actually are addressing in the curriculum audit that had to do with those policies. And then I think some of you have or may have heard about the Curriculum and Instructional Policy Committee. That's what we do to update the board policies to reflect the changes in state law, but also things that we might want to strengthen to make sure we have better instructional outcomes. And that was a result. One of those policies was the option B workforce program. And so that's all I had for now, but thank you for your time and any questions. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I recognize Dr. Keith first and then Ms.
I'm sorry.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. I have, let me ask you, because when you got up there and you first started, you said, that we didn't get this for a couple of months, even though we've been asking and you've been trying to get it up. Is this the what Dr. Shanice Williams was
ma'am.
supposed
Yes,
to?
ma'am.
This
Yes,
was
ma'am.
her, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, here's where I'm concerned. Number one, I don't know why it wasn't, because I know she would be out there both times sitting to present and could never present, and I never understood why she wasn't able to present. So I'm not, that's not my business, and it sounds like I'm micromanaging. I hope it doesn't, but I didn't understand that.
Yes, ma'am.
But looking at the highlighted continuous on track, I don't have questions, I have concerns. When you look and you've got near the end, we're continuous and on track, continuous on track. But then you go back and you look where, and I'm not looking for school names. I mean, I know we can't know school names, but let's just look at go back to the schools PLP where your schools have been blacked out. Maybe I'm wrong, but it doesn't look like all schools are represented there that would be using that. And what it looks to me when you look at the data, because I'm certainly a data person, when you look at like one school, you can see one school is definitely using it because you've got, look at your number of users versus another school that doesn't look like they have any use in some places.
Right.
And then you get down to the end and you only have 4 people using it. So, I know this is new, but it's concerning. And to me, what's even more concerning is our numbers. The numbers, we're putting out in the thousands, but we're only helping in the 200s. We're not even reaching a third of our kids. And one of your statements that you set up there was that maybe the intervention didn't work. Well, I think this is a wake-up call for us. I do. I think this is something we need to hone in on. What schools, what interventions were used? Why are 0? I think when you're looking at quarter 1, 0, and you look at quarter 2, 0, and you got the same amount of students, there's just so many more questions I have about what are we doing with the data or what are we not doing with the data. Because if we're just putting it on paper, then it's just data.
Right.
But if when you're not actually honing in on what this intervention specifically is, and if you look at the fallout of PLP, have all our schools been trained properly on schools PLP? Because the fallout to me looks different per school.
Sure. And if I can respond on to, because when you look at schools PLP, not all schools had teacher vacancies. So it's not
I got you.
necessarily.
Then that would account for
Right,
the low
right. And
numbers.
then
Okay, I
right,
get
And
you.
then the credit recovery was only those students. It was
Okay, thank
limited because we hadn't completed the year, and most of the time credit recovery, because we give a whole credit. So some of these are students that we
Then that
knew-
makes sense.
Yeah,
I was like, why
yeah,
4?
Yeah,
I don't
but
get
also,
the 4.
but I also want to tell you the reason this was intentional, because these data points, we are being transparent on what the work needs to happen, and that was an effort because
Thank
in
you.
response to the request, what are we doing? So now, in terms of
Makes
changing
sense.
the culture and saying there is an accountability, we don't shy away from that because
Sorry
our
about
job is to. That's okay.
Yeah,
No,
I didn't know
no,
that that's what
it's
it was,
okay. It's all good.
vacancies, okay.
So that was one of the reasons why we put this particular system in place, to be not only like
Gotcha.
data, but we got to respond. So this is the effort to do that. And I'm
Gotcha.
not sure, I wasn't necessarily to see what was done before, but I can assure you the data is looked at, and in terms of it does inform what we're going to do. And but anyway, but thank you for your question.
Okay, I've got several sticky notes Um, you've got a six weeks school-wide intervention plan. Don't you want it to be 9 weeks? What's happening to the other 3 weeks? We're just leaving them out there, struggling, continuously falling?
No, not necessarily. Not necessarily, it's not to say, because 9 weeks is when we want to see before the 9 weeks end so that we can improve student outcomes. And so that's why it's very intensive in that. And then for high school, it's about 8 weeks. So they go up to 1 week because that, in terms of the credit recovery and then what the students need to know. So that kind of explains, that's our thought about the 6 weeks versus the 9 weeks.
Are you informing the parents when you put them on an MTSS plan?
That is definitely our expectation. And that's definitely our expectation.
You know, you have to inspect what you
Yes, ma'am.
expect.
Yes,
All
ma'am.
right, and then the last thing, it was about schools PLP.
Yes.
You've got virtual instruction when there's no teacher. Is there a facilitator in there to keep
It
them
should-
on task?
Yes, it should be in every class.
But do
Yeah.
you know if that's another thing, I'd really like to make sure that all of those children going into a virtual classroom, taking a course, that there's someone in there, an adult directing them.
Yeah, and that is, that has to, that is supposed to happen, so, for a facilitator in the classroom, because in those cases, there are, like, as if it was a regular class, a teacher vacancy, but those students are, some cases, students that are in the class, so it should be a facilitator in those classes.
Well, I know there's a Zoom situation where the teachers are there on screen, but you still need
Yes,
an
ma'am.
adult
Yeah, that's right.
moving in the room like
That's
a
right.
regular teacher would.
That's right.
Last thing, extended day opportunities. I don't see schools PLP for credit or grade recovery on that page. Are they
Right,
using it?
so for the high schools, some of the high schools use teachers to teach credit recovery in their evening academy. Some use schools PLP, but most of them use teachers. They hire teachers to do credit recovery.
Are there any schools, middle or high schools, that do not have access to schools PLP?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
I know two. We'll talk later.
Okay. They shouldn't. Every school has an opportunity, and so that you know our process, we've sent the enrollment form to every school. The only school that I know of doesn't use it because there's not a need there, but all schools was given the opportunity to enroll students in those courses.
Just one question. Schools PLP, is any portion of it graded?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so here's my question. If it's graded, do we know that it's graded on the course content? Or
Yes.
see, if I give a project and I'm teaching a standard, right? And I grade at the end of that standard, which is what I was asking Ms. Hatch. If I grade at the end of that standard, then everything I've taught is included in it. So schools PLP, if we're grading it, are we not accepting the same thing?
We're actually, it is aligned to our GPR standard, like the 6, like the minor and the major. So it's aligned to that. So as if the kid was in a regular class, it's aligned to, and we grade it based on that. What are minor grades and what are major grades. So that's how we grade it. Like as if they were in our regular class. Doesn't change.
And I have one more. I think early on the graph, you said you take a group of kids and see how many have Fs. You take that same group and measure who doesn't have an F anymore.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
So the data doesn't show us, we don't know who failed.
No, that's-
If we're using the same children, if we have 30 children, we're only measuring 15. Are we looking back at those we have left, or we just following?
No,
those?
that's a good question, and I'll probably will follow up and get
Okay.
you an answer to that because we do collect all the Fs for all of the grades. So we do collect the Fs from all of the schools. So I'll
Sure,
follow
and
up
we
on that.
understand,
Yeah.
there's a lot of ways to collect,
Yeah, yeah, but that's
that
a
I'd
good
just
question.
like to see it massaged a little
I
different.
have one last question,
that.
please. I forgot to ask it. Can I ask it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, we'll talk later about that after. One last question. Do all the teachers have access to schools PLP so that if a child in their classroom, middle or high school, is fallen behind, can they set them over on a computer to maybe revisit that lesson or revisit the concept of the content?
It wasn't designed that way. Honestly, I mean, because of the timing that we adopted Schools PLP, and at the time that we adopted Schools PLP, we didn't have any training days built in to provide it. So teachers is different from Imagine Learning, where teachers had unlimited access with that. But the only problem with that is when you're using any resource, the state requires you to document you used it on that services. So no, the teachers may have access now, but not in the way that they used to have it in Imagine Learning.
Oh, I thought that they were ongoing trainings that was available to them, that they could go in and view the training module to learn how to use it.
That was available for teachers. It's just what the time, and we really focused on the teacher vacancy to triage, and when that transition happened, to make sure those students were not penalized. So that's what we focused on. It wasn't the ideal situation, but now, Dr. Pelton is also working with Schools PLP, so now we could provide more trainings for that. It just wasn't the ideal situation to do that, where we can take all of the teachers and train them. So we focused on, those students' grade recovery, credit recovery, and those teachers with vacancies. But the service is available now. I mean, Schools PLP just provided that unlimited. However, again, we want to ensure that we're just not putting students on a computer, but rather the standard is being taught and then supplemented by that. So, but you ask great questions, but it was just the timing of that as why we didn't have it. But we did, honestly, the team, we had a small, mighty team, but to pull it off and to get it up, it took a lot of work and a lot of working with Schools PLP to kind of talk, but it'll be a lot easier coming up this upcoming year. And we're starting with training early by May 30th. So we sent that out to principals for, teachers or people who want to be trained. Then we have other dates that are going to be May 30th. And July 31st and August 1st. And then we'll try to build in more days where people can come in and get more training on it.
So
The goal is to hire.
So are you using it for summer school, for credit and grade
Some
recovery?
of it, some cases, yeah. And then some principals are using teachers, so I prefer that. But yeah, we are using it.
And I just
Thank
want to
you.
thank you, because I mean, for acknowledging what, I think the work that you've done is good, and for making me understand what I didn't understand. So I
Oh, that's
appreciate
okay.
it. Like I said a
Anytime.
long time ago, I'm glad you're with us.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. King,
Thank you.
for everything. I think we're all being for a treat because Dr. Bird is a real numbers person. I've seen some of his drill downs in his district, so we'll
He
get.
already started. So
Yeah, that's good to hear. Okay, thank you very much, and your team. We'll move right into new business. It'll be short and sweet. One of the things that maybe the public does not realize, and maybe even the district employees, is that board members have professional development too. And we take it serious what we learn. It's always intriguing to see how the rest of the world's board members think, the questions they ask. And so if it seems very technical and nitpicky, there's a reason for it. In last month, Dr. Coleman, Mrs. Smith, and myself went to Washington, D.C. to NSBA's conference on core values and district budgets. A lot of the numbers that you see is the reason we have to ask so many questions. One of the things that stuck out in the conference to me was it said, show me your budget and I'll show you your values. You know, a lot of times they say that in your life, if you open your checkbook, people can tell how you living, what you fancy more, what what are your values? And so our mission, our vision, and our strategic plan has to align. We have to put this money, knowing this data. If we know that we have a high school that's struggling, knowing where to put that money is valuable to us. We can't be accountable to the people that put us here if we're not following the trail that we lay. If we say that teaching little children to read is important, but our budget doesn't show that it's important, nobody believes us. We don't care about little children reading. So we were able to grace the classroom with board members from New Jersey, Oregon, California, Maryland, Virginia, and North Carolina. And when I tell you these people, I mean, they knew intricate details about their district. And that's one of the things that we have to do as board members. We have to know this district, not just, I think I know my schools well, but I may not. If I look at their numbers, are their numbers going to tell me what I walk in that building and see when I'm visiting? So finding out what ethical leadership looks like, it's not about stepping on toes, it's about being a partner. And some of the framework that they talked about was community partnerships, fostering transparency, trust, and agency, ethical institutions. I know sometimes when we look at our financials, it's a lot of numbers. It's a lot of different accounts, but we're responsible to understand the flow of the money, where it's going, who we employ. And then the question comes back a lot of times to Dr. King. Well, we bought this program, we paid $1 million for it. What's our return on investment? Are we looking at the return enough? Are we counting just dollars or are we counting graduates? Because the return on the investment for us should be the understanding of children and the growth and the movement of them. So just those things, and it's fun. It's fun to understand and know. It's always so welcoming when you have other board members because they give an input from their side and then we hear others. So it's really great. Dr. Coleman, you like to add anything? She was there.
Thank you. I was there, and I'm very, very excited now that we've returned so that when we sit down with Ms. Watkins, yes, we will know better the kinds of questions to ask, why we're asking those questions to get to specific answers and to serve our purpose. So it was a delight, and I look forward to sharing more information not only with Ms. Watkins, but with fellow board members.
Right, and Dr. Coleman and Ms. Mitchell went to policy, was it policy? So they'll be sharing that along the way also, so we're excited for that. Your next board meeting is.
Miss,
I'm
I
sorry.
had,
Yes,
I
I'm
did
sorry.
check with new business with our superintendent and our president. So I have one little thing in new
Oh,
business.
go right ahead, Dr. King.
One thing that's kind of inappropriate, I've just had 3 texts on my phone, and people are asking me about the bruises on my left side. Al does not beat me on Mondays, okay? It's only on Sundays. I'm kidding, but I have not been beaten. I have baby ducks, and my husband cannot get on his knees. And if anybody's ever had 6 little ducklings, I got 4 more weeks of probably bruises. I've fallen 4 times. And I won't tell you why I'm falling, but it's the ducks, and they do something that's not fun, is that I have to clean up after. But new business, I do want to say this. I met with Angie Pelton today, and it was an absolute delight. I have not been able to spend any time with her teachers that she works with, the new teachers. And I looked at her heart, and I met, I think, her dynamic duo. I've already forgotten her name, and I'm sorry, but she was just a delight. And I met so many teachers that were like wanted to teach, that wanted to be here, that were excited about being these teachers. And then I asked, one of the things that my curiosity got the best of me when she introduced me and graciously let me speak to them for about 15 minutes, which they did. Probably were like, Lisa, please stop. But I was so excited about getting to speak to them, and I want to continue to do that. That was so much fun for me. But Dr. Pelton said, "Oh, these are the ladies that got y'all stipend." And so, of course, I was like, "What's stipend?" And I know what that is, but I was like, "What is it?" And I didn't know that they were running out of money. And we can't afford that. I wanted to get more teachers involved in your program, because if you are motivating like what I saw today, Dr. Pelton, that was the most impressive thing I have seen in months. Other than our superintendent that we have here, I'm excited. And I still want to thank Dr. Jamie Wilson. I noticed she sat down over here, and I'm so pleased that she has been with us, and I hope she stays with us, because I just think we've got too many good things coming. And we've just got a new group of people that have been here for at least a year, and I want to keep them, so I'm excited.
Thank you so much, Dr. King. June 10th. Oh, Dr. Coleman, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Go right.
There was a call out for new business items, and I do apologize for the late entry, but I've gotten several calls after that call went out for us to submit new business items. And it has to do with addressing overcrowding in our schools. I do encourage this team, as well as district leaders, to have a discussion about some overcrowding instances. And the challenge has become urgent at one building that you're probably very aware of, and I'll be delighted to have that one-on-one conversation with you. Understanding that when we have overcrowding, it impacts not only student learning, but safety, as well as the appropriate, accurate function of the teacher. And so I'm hoping that we can engage in those conversations and take care of some of the problems that have been submitted. I wanted my colleagues to be aware of the concern, and I wanted our constituents to know that we do hear you, and we are going to have those conversations. Thank you.
Just a question. So you're saying overcrowding at a school?
Yes.
Okay.
And I will talk specifically about that school with the superintendent.
Right. Sure. Well,
But I
thank
do
you.
want those who called me to know that it's important to us, but we have to have those conversations to get the background information before we can talk to you about where we're headed, what the decisions are.
Sure. Well, thank you for that.
And my last final note, I'll be quick. I want to thank you for doing what you did today and taking over. And I want to thank both you and the president for keeping us so well informed on our retreats and always making all of us a part of the planning of those things. It's important that the continued emails that you all send out, they're very informational. And if I didn't get them, I wouldn't know what was going on. And even if that's all I get, I still feel a part of it, and I thank you.
Well, thank you. That we try very hard.
I know you do.
It's a hard
It is.
job, and but somebody's got to do it.
And I'm glad y'all are doing it.
Well,
Good job.
thank you. June 10th, 5 o'clock, is our board meeting, our regular scheduled board meeting. Immediately following will be our work session. So if all minds and hearts are clear, this meeting is adjourned.
It's important that every student goes to school every single day.
That's right, every single school day.
Because face it, if we don't come to school, how will we prepare ourselves for our futures?
I want to be prepared for the future, so I'm making sure I go to school every day.
Parents, did you know that if a student misses at least 2 days of school a month, they've missed at least 20% of classroom instruction?
And missing that much of school without a valid reason causes students to fall behind academically.
Let's work together to ensure students are present in the classroom.
Together, we can do this.
Because it's our future.
It's our future.
And our future impacts our communities.
Let's be present together, MPS.